Hi, I'm Dave, and I've done a series of videos of my career 25 years enforcing federal natural resource laws, federal fish and wildlife laws. In my last 5 years, I went down to Los Angeles um, and stationed at the Long Beach regional office, which eventually became a field office. But we were the Southwest region for NOAA National Marine Fisheries Service Office of Law Enforcement. And there had originally been two special agents and a uniform officer, and they quit. Um, Working in the LA area is very challenging, difficult. It's expensive to live there. I knew I had 5 years, and I knew I could, it boosted my pay by I got 27% cola, so I'd end out my career with a little extra money. So one of the things that Southern California had, there were three agents. There was an agent up in Santa Maria. I was in Long Beach, and then San Diego had an agent. And the three of us had something that nobody else had for NOAA in the country, and that was CVB, Central Violation Bureau, federal criminal misdemeanor tickets. Everybody else, all the other agents used a civil infraction called a summary settlement. But we had criminal tickets, just like the Park Service or Forest Service uses. And I know people say, well, why would an agent want to write tickets? Well, there's a lot of really good misdemeanor cases, criminal cases, that you don't want to formally charge with the U.S. Attorney's Office. They may not even take it. It's a good case, but it's not high enough to their level. And with the CVB tickets, as I'll describe, I made three cases that were really good that should have been made, and it worked out well. Unfortunately, within maybe a year, no, maybe 2 years after I got there, um, we went through a revolving door of directors, and the last director was a civil attorney, and he took them away. He said, "You don't need them; just use the civil ones." And so these were highly effective, and we used them really. We did a good job using them. 100% success. And a civil attorney who never been a law enforcement officer or agent says we don't need them, takes them away from us. So the first one was um, I get a call from somebody in Malibu, and they lived next to Barbara Streisand, beautiful home on the coast. He was like a movie producer, and he had lived there for 6 months or so, and he would hear gunshots sometimes coming from the direction of fishing boats out at sea. So he decided he would take a celestial telescope and mount a really nice camera on it and start seeing what's going on out there. We takes a video of someone on a light boat. So light boats are a small boat with lights that come down to the ocean, causing squid to come up in a big ball. And then the purse seiner, which is a bigger fishing boat with a little skiff off the back, would then encircle around the light boat. The light boat would motor out, and then the purse seiner would pull in this huge net and scoop up. But the problem was sometimes some species of whales, dolphins, sea lions, dolphin seals would come into that ball of squid and eat them, chow down on them. Fishermen don't like that, and some take shots at them. It's a fact. And in this one, I'm watching the video that this guy did over a half a mile out, and it's incredible the detail. I mean, I could get the boat name. The guy's got a dog. I could see his face perfectly clear. I mean, he had a can of Budweiser, and you could just about read Budweiser from over a half a mile away. This is some high tech equipment this guy had, some expensive stuff. And so I got a copy of it. I find out that the guy's, he ports his boat down there at a slip in Ventura Harbor. And so I go down there. I find him and meet him. I said, I got something to show you. I'm a federal agent. I badge him. And we get on the boat, and I said, watch this video. And he watches it, and he goes, yeah, that's me. I said, yeah, I know. It looks like you. And your little dog there running around, he looks like the dog that's running around on the boat. And he goes, yeah, it is. What are you doing? And he's quiet. And I said, if you lied to me, that's a felony. 18 USC 1001, lying in a federal investigation. He goes, I'm shooting at a Risso dolphin. So Rissos are, to me, they look more like pilot whales. They don't look like your typical dolphin. They got streaks down the side, like It's a very unique looking species. And I said, "Did you hit it?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I hit it." He goes, "What were you using?" He goes, "A pellet gun." I saw a little speck of blood. He goes, "It's not going to kill it, but it'll sting it and chase it away." I said, "Well, that's illegal." He goes, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "Yeah, it's me." And so I said, "Let me have the gun." I seized it, gave him a receipt for it, and I wrote him a $500 criminal misdemeanor Central Violations Bureau ticket. And within 3 days, he paid his $500 fine. Now, if that had been formally charged, would the U.S. Attorney's Office taken it? I don't know, because you can't see the Risso dolphin from the video. You just see him on a boat, you know, shooting at something, aiming at something. There's no sound, so it's like he's definitely aiming at something. Um, but it's a win. I stopped the behavior, and the word gets out real quick in the fishing fleet. They're watching us. They got really good cameras. They're watching us. Unfortunately, I didn't have good cameras. I had crappy cameras. But this guy from Malibu, he's a movie producer, so he had tons of money. And it was just, a hobby for him. The next thing was I'd go down to Venice Beach, which is, a freak show if you've ever been to Venice. There's all kinds of, like, it's a carny atmosphere. Jugglers and people blowing fire out and people playing guitar, and there's, you know, all kinds of amusement type rides, and you know a weird spook house there that you can go through, and it's like a big carnival atmosphere. And but there's vendors that have little stands that go all the way down the beach for a mile, and they sell stuff. And I was like, I wonder what they're selling. I heard sometimes wildlife parts are sold. Well, I find one, and I had called the supervisor. I said, "Yeah, this is what I got. I'm gonna do a buy bust on this guy." Was a gal, but I said, "I'm gonna do a buy bust." And he came down, and so what I did is I walked up, and I see a sea lion skull and a whale vertebrae. And so I walk up to her. I say, "Hey, my girlfriend's she just got a new apartment. She's into nautical stuff, ocean stuff, and there's some stuff you got I really like. So tell me about that skull." And she goes, "Oh, that's from a sea lion." I said, "That's wild. How much do you want?" And she's like, 400 for that." And I go, "What about the big bone? What is that?" "Oh, that's a whale vertebrae." "How cool. What do you want from that one?" 300 for that. So 400 and 300 for the whale vertebrae. Okay. And I said, I always thought this kind of stuff was illegal. I don't want to get in trouble." She goes, "It probably is legal." She goes, "Yeah, but nobody comes here. Nobody's gonna know." Okay. That's cool. I feel better now. I said, "You know what? Let me give my girlfriend a call, I, just to see if she really wants me to. I've got cash. I said, "Yeah, yeah, hon. Okay, so I've got I'm in Venice, and they got this vendor selling this, it's a sea lion skull and a whale vertebrae, and it just would look great for the apartment." Okay, so it's and what is it again? 300 for the vertebrae and 400 for the sea lion skull. And she goes, "Okay, so for the sea lion skull, can you drop down to like maybe 375?" I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." And then for the whale vertebrae, can you drop that down to like 275? She goes, "Yeah, I can drop the prices down." Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and get it. I said, "Okay, she wants it, so here, let me get my wallet out. And can you bring that over?" And she puts it over, and I pull out my badge. Federal agent, NOAA National Marine Fisheries Service. "You're busted. This is illegal." Well, the lady starts crying. "I just work here. This is not my stuff." And I said, "Who owns this? This who owns all this?" She calls the guy, and he comes out and goes, "Yeah, you know, I found some of this. I thought I could sell it. I sort of knew you're not allowed, but nobody checks down here. I do." And so I forgot what the fine I wrote him for. It was marine mammal for selling marine mammal parts. It was like a $375 criminal misdemeanor ticket. And then it was like, "Do you have anything else like in your home? Do we need a search warrant for your home?" He goes, "No, you can come. I've got some other stuff you can have." So we go to his apartment, and he's got a barrel full of feathers. He's got all kinds of bones. One of the bones turned out to be, I had a Smithsonian paleontologist determine that was a condor, California condor bone. That's Endangered Species Act. The feathers are Migratory Bird Treaty Act. They're Fish and Wildlife cases, but U.S. Fish and Wildlife, we can see stuff if we see one of their violations. And so he paid his ticket, and we got those off out of commerce. It's a win-win. Had another one where me and a supervisor were checking out a site where there was would turn out to be a big case concerning Southern California's steelhead habitat. Yeah, they all the way down to LA and Orange County, they get steelhead in some of the streams. There's so few, they're on the verge of extinction, but they're still showing up. And I'll get to that, probably in another video. But we're eating lunch, and after we paid, I happened to look up and behind us, hanging up, I noticed that there were two sea turtles. They were real hawksbills mounted. And so we asked for the owner to come out. I said, "What's the deal with these sea turtles here? They're interesting. They look like hawksbills." He goes, "Yeah, I brought them in from Mexico 2 weeks ago." "Oh, really? No one said anything to you?" "No, I put them under blankets. Nobody saw." "Oh." Because usually, they seize that stuff at the airports. You're not supposed to bring this in. He goes, "They're not going to find out about me." Well, guess what? Special Agent NOAA, National Marine Fisheries, and that's illegal. I need to see some ID from you. He was ticked off. Took my knife, I cut him down. "You can't take them. Here's your receipt. I'm taking them." And I write him up a ticket. I wrote him up under ESA. And again, it was like a $300 fine, and because he admitted that he brought him across from Mexico, I think it could have been a Lacey Act violation too. But we went with ESA instead, and you know, we issue him the ticket. He said, "I'm not going to pay it. You can't make me." Well, eventually, when it came time for, he didn't pay it, and CBV has their own court, and he didn't show up. So they're really strict in Los Angeles. They issue a bench warrant. And so then I call the U.S. Marshals and say, "Can you send me the bench warrant for this case number, this individual? I'd like to serve the warrant myself." And they said, "Sure, go for it." They send me the bench warrant. Me and the boss drive back to Santa Paula to this restaurant. And it's like, we tell the owner, "We have to sit with you and talk to you now." He sits down, and I pull out the handcuffs, and then I show him the warrant. I said, "You have a warrant for your arrest. You didn't show up to court. You didn't pay your fine. Now you have to pay your fine." "Well, I want my turtles back." "You're not getting them back." I said, "I'm going to cuff you right now, or you can call Central Violations Bureau, put it on speakerphone, use a credit card, and start paying it. And once your fine is paid off, then the bench warrant will be dismissed." So he puts on speakerphone, calls, pulls out his wallet, and he starts a payment plan. Everybody else, all the other special agents and officers in NOAA had summary settlement, these civil infractions. You couldn't do that with a civil infraction. You don't arrest people for it. If someone doesn't pay for it, most of the time nothing happened. Rare occasions it may get sent to IRS, Internal Revenue Service, where they take, a little bit out of people's um, tax returns. But the CVB, Central Violations Bureau tickets, misdemeanors, you get criminal, it's counted as a criminal case, and if someone doesn't pay it, you go down and hook them up. And these are three examples of how it worked really good, and it was better than trying to formally charge. It's better than trying to use civil attorneys to go after these guys. This is quick, it's decisive, you get it done. And it was great. Uh, Another incident I had, the Mexico, they call up and they're speaking Spanish, broken English mix. I don't understand. They also send me an email. They had gotten my email somehow. And they had a shipment, a transshipment going from Mexico to LA to China. So it's not being officially landed in the United States, even though It's at the airport. It's just being transshipped from one plane to the next. They want it stopped. The the stamp of approval for that to be exported, the export stamp from Canapesca, which is like the Mexican version of NOAA, had been falsified. And they showed me pictures of what it should look like and what it does look like. They said the flight took off. It's coming out of the Yucatan Peninsula. It's going to arrive in LAX at any time. This was really fast. It was like, okay. I said, send me a fax or another email with more information. They did. I went down there, and sure enough, I was there when they pulled it off the plane. And so I seized it, and I did the paperwork for CBP, Customs and Border Protection, and I get it loaded in the back of my truck, and it's $20,000 of sea cucumbers that had been poached out of Mexico that's on its way to China. Take it to a cold storage facility. I later find out that the company where it originated from did have an office in LA. The next day I go down there, but that office has been cleaned out for years. It's just garbage and junk and an empty office. And so I asked Mexico. I found we have an agent that could speak and write Spanish and say, we need more information. We'd like to investigate if there's anybody in the United States tied into this. But they didn't want to give us any more information other than this is where it originated from and thank you for stopping it. And so eventually, for asset forfeiture purposes, because we seized something, when you seize fish and wildlife, then a clock's ticking. The civil attorneys for NOAA then sent a letter down to the company saying, we seized $20,000 in sea cucumbers of this shipment. Do you want it back? And they never responded. So you wait another 60 days or so, and then we destroyed the sea cucumbers. But sea cucumbers are being poached, and it's fascinating. They're like little bricks. They're about, maybe like this long, kind of like a giant slug, but they bake them, and then they become like a rock hard, a brick, and then they ship them out like that. And when you receive it, then you can soak it in water for like a week, and it'll go back to its original form, which is crazy. It takes a week, but then it gets to kind of gelatin. And then they slice it up, they put seasoning, and eat it with rice and noodles. It's a delicacy in Asia. But there's a lot of it, and it's a high dollar. Some of them are really high dollar. There's different types, and some are considered, more valuable than others. I had a good fishing case that disappointed me. I was pretty angry about how this went down. First of all, I was working on Saturdays, checking out the fishing fleet there in San Pedro. And I'm just doing surveillance in the middle of the day on a Saturday, and I see this guy dangling a sardine, and a sea lion jumps up and eats. Well, he can't be doing that. So I'm taking pictures and video. I said, this would be a good ticket. And so after I get enough pictures of him feeding sardines to a sea lion, I drive around to the dock and I go down to the boat. Hey, how you doing? Hey, what are you feeding that sea lion? He goes, oh, sardines. We just offloaded the boat over here. Oh, okay. That fish house, this one? Yeah, okay, great. Can I see the landing ticket? I'm a federal agent with NOAA National Marine Fisheries. It was a sardine boat. That's a federal fishery. And the captain, it's a big boat. He gets out on top. He's like, get the F off my boat. Get off now. And all of a sudden I see there's like five guys on the boat. And they're coming towards me. So I'm getting off the boat. And I said, you don't want to do this. I want to see your landing ticket for the sardines. I want to see them now. F you, you're not seeing anything. You're not getting on my boat. So I'm calling up, and I call LA Port Police to back me up. And I said, Port Police is on their way. Well, then the guys flee. They jump off the boat. They're running through parking lots. Port Police comes. I said, they fled. I was up against five guys. I wasn't going to try to fight them all. We do a search of the boat. I go up to the wheelhouse. I find the logbook, I take that, but there's no landing ticket. So then we go around, me and LA Port Police go around to the fish house, and I said, federal agent, I said, I want to see the landing ticket for this specific boat that just did an offload. The guy said, well, manager was like, yeah, we haven't gotten to that yet. And I said, open up your computer. I said, I want a hard copy of it. I took pictures of the screen. I said, you do the landing at the time of offload. You weren't going to do it. You're poaching. It was $8,000 worth of sardines, and there was no record of it if I hadn't have been there. This is a case that would sit on the U.S. Attorney's Office in L.A. for 5 years, and they never did anything with it. That ticks me off. And if they watch this video and it upsets them, I don't care. They, I almost got my ass kicked. There was a marine mammal violation, and then there's poaching of $8,000 worth of fish, and they wouldn't give it back to the civil attorneys. I said, let the civil attorneys take it then. If you don't want it, general counsel will take it. They, oh no, we're going to take it. We're going to take it. To my knowledge, when I retired 5 years after it happened, no one prosecuted this guy, this fisherman. And it just sends a bad message that you can bully law enforcement and the federal government. No special agents, you just bully them and they go away and they won't do anything. And that's the message you send when you don't prosecute people. And the U.S. Attorney's Office, shame on you. If you didn't have the time to work this case, you give it to the civil attorneys and let it be a civil case. It could go either or. I wanted to do a ticket. Said, let me write a ticket, so at least I get a stat for a misdemeanor, criminal misdemeanor. Oh no, we want to do formal charges. It never happened. You know, Natural resource cases, they're not important. That's reality. It's a harsh reality. And it's like you can get hurt out there, and basically, the unofficial word is unless there's blood, they're not going to get them for threats or obstruction of justice or interference with the agency function. They don't make those kind of cases. Okay, well then why do I want to work these kind of cases then? I can just ignore them because if it's not going to go anywhere, what did I solve? You know, I got everything after the fact. I proved that they caught $8,000 worth of sardines, and they did no fish landing ticket. I forced them to write a new one so that it would go towards their catch limit. I guess I did something, but it's just like I almost got my ass kicked on that, and it rubbed me the wrong way. And it wasn't the first time that I saw the Department of Justice kind of drop the ball and stuff, but it was disappointing. This 22 minutes, and I had 5 years, and there's a lot of stuff that went on in LA. I was very busy, and you know, this is a chaotic time for NOAA. I just want to add in, it's like the director and the assistant director are removed by Jane Lubchenco, the director of NOAA. She removes them. And then we have a fisheries manager in charge of the law enforcement. And then we have a former Homeland Security, Federal Protective Service director. His only experience is guarding federal buildings. And then we have a Florida Game and Fish, director. I had high hopes. He was gone within 3 months. And then we have a civil attorney in NOAA become the Office of Law Enforcement Director. So this is a crazy time, and it's they're cutting the agent force in half. Their goal is to hire officers to replace the agents. They're shutting down offices. A lot's going on, but we'll get into that more in the next video. But again, this is 2011, and this is me jumping right in. Nobody's been there for almost a year, and I'm just like, let's see what I can get into. And I'm finding stuff. Thanks for listening, and like I said, the next video will pop out probably, hopefully in the next month where I talk about the other years down there in Los Angeles.